All right, I'll get us started. Welcome, guys. My name is Julie Rolla. I am the president of the NAIGC. I am going to kick us off with the start of these slides. Welcome to the annual meeting, the 2021 annual meeting. Go ahead, Allie. This is our agenda for the day. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know in the Q&A function. Go ahead, Allie, in the next slide. So here are some details on our Zoom presentation etiquette. So first, we're asking you guys to save questions for the end and utilize the Q&A feature within Zoom. So what I just mentioned is make sure you guys aren't using the chat for those questions or they might get buried. Next thing is you guys can use the raise hand feature, and this will allow us to unmute you so you can ask your question aloud if you would like to. Other comment, this presentation will be recorded, so if anybody can't make it or if you guys want to go back and take a look at it, it will be available for you guys. We will send it out afterward. Go ahead, Allie. All right, a word from our sponsors. So first and foremost, we have Spieth. They are offering a 15% discount on any equipment for any gym hosting an NAIGC club. Next thing, they're currently running discounts on home equipment. So this is great for our pandemic life. Free shipping can be gotten with the promo code NAIGC shipping. And our second sponsor, DGS. They are offering a 10% discount on any purchases by NAIGC members. If you want access to this, you can access the link to discount on naigc.org, so on our website. Go ahead, Allie. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the NAIGC and the impact of COVID-19. Go ahead. All right, so we've done some pretty cool stuff this year. First, we are doing our strategic planning. So we'll talk about this, it'll come up a couple times, but in doing so, we have looked at our mission statement and done a little bit of revamping. So as a part of its original strategic planning, the board revised that mission statement of the NAIGC to reflect our inclusivity of all adult gymnasts and focus on what is most important. So here you can see we have the previous mission statement. It's big, it's bulky. And now here's our updated one below. So it's to provide collegiate and adult gymnastics opportunities through competition, community building, and pushing the boundaries of the sport. Go ahead, Allie. So in addition to revamping our mission statement, we also revamped our core values. Our core values represent how the NAIGC will achieve its mission. Now, just to let you guys know, there are not any major changes on this. It's essentially the exact same rhetoric, but we did do some wordsmithing. So they are embracing radical opportunity, offering exceptional member experience, removing barriers to transparency, and effectively communicating the rationale of decisions with our members and the public, and fostering innovation and creativity to push the boundaries of the sport of gymnastics. Go ahead, Allie. Okay. So the NAIGC is unique. We exist to fill a gap in the gymnastics community. As you can see, this is a nice graphic of all of the areas that the gymnastics community incorporates. So these are how we essentially make sure we have covered all the areas of our stakeholders. So if you can see, the NAIGC is really unique. There are two major areas where only the NAIGC covers. So first and foremost, it's that beginner or middle level collegiate athlete. So only the NAIGC covers that demographic. Then the other one is that advanced level adult gymnast. So the NAIGC additionally only covers that demographic. We're missing a graphic, actually, unfortunately, it looks like. So we also cover this advanced level collegiate. We share it with GymAct and NCAA, so that middle box right there. So we do also cover that, but we do all these organizations between GymAct, NCAA, and us. We have different eligibility criteria. In addition, you can see we also share this demographic with the beginner or middle level adults with AAU. Go ahead, next slide. Oh, now our graphic popped up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the impacts of COVID-19. You can go ahead, maybe it'll give us some words as we go. Okay, so first and foremost, Nationals was canceled for the second consecutive year. Al, if you want, you can just fill this by hitting the next so it all fills. So Nationals were canceled for the second consecutive year. For those of you guys that have already heard and gotten our messages, Nationals 2021 in Albuquerque is postponed to 2024. So you guys already know that Nationals location. And then also virtual week of Nationals was held instead, as I mentioned before. Check it out on YouTube. The Saturday display they did was amazing. In addition, no in-person sanctioned events this past season were held. NAIGC hosted 6 virtual events in addition to the week of Nationals instead. Also, another plug, NAIGC Fit. If you guys haven't checked them out on Instagram, they're amazing. They post workouts and doing things, including like features from Chelsea Memel. Final thing you've all been waiting for is some discussion about FlipFest. So right now, the status of FlipFest and any other in-person events are unfortunately still yet to be determined. We do have a COVID-19 task force, and they'll continue monitoring and assessing the situation, and we will get back to you guys as soon as we can. Go ahead, Allie. All right, we love this plot. We see this plot every year. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is a really nice plot that kind of displays how the NAIGC is growing through the years. This is the nationals and membership growth from 2008 to 2020. You can see we are now missing some data, unfortunately. So 2021, we did not request any membership fees from people. It was not a requirement, so we don't have a data point for that. In addition, we didn't host nationals. You can also see for the 2020 Providence, we don't actually have nationals numbers. Though we opened up membership, or we opened up registration, we never actually hosted it, so we don't know those numbers. But a great takeaway is we are in fact growing, and that is fantastic. Go ahead, Allie. All right, quick shout out. So we had some new clubs in 2021 and 2022. So they've just popped up. If you could see, the navy blue are the states with NAIGC clubs, and those spectacular stars are places where new clubs have popped up. So what's great is despite the challenges of COVID-19, we still had new club growth this year. If you could see on the right, we have the names and shout outs for our clubs. Go ahead, Allie. And I will pass it off to Sydney.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sydney Diekman. I'm a board member and also the treasurer of the organization. So my role on the board is to oversee the financial management of the organization. And so I work alongside the finance committee to provide financial reporting for not only our board members and our organization, but also for you, our members. So if Allie, you go down to the next slide, I can begin just by discussing what exactly I'm going to be covering today in this financial update. So the NAIGC, we like to refer to ourselves as a nonprofit with profits, and I'll show you why a little bit later, because I think it's sometimes a common misconception that nonprofits don't actually generate profit from year to year. But our organization, how we run is, I mean, one, we're entirely volunteer run, meaning that we can keep our costs more affordable to our members by recruiting volunteers to provide the opportunities and services that our organization provides to our members. But that doesn't necessarily mean we can avoid costs of running an organization. And each year we have these kind of like fixed overhead expenses. And those are basically just the costs of doing business. So some of these fixed expenses have been impacted by COVID. And so I've indicated those on this slide with an asterisk, the expenses that have been impacted or the programs that have been impacted, and some not. But generally what these overhead expenses do is that they're associated with things that we need to run the day-to-day of our organization. And those are things like hosting our website and filing our taxes and doing outreach and marketing so that we can grow our organization and get more people involved with our mission. For example, some areas where we've cut costs due to COVID, and I'll touch on this a little bit later, is our annual board meeting. So each year we have a strategic planning and also nationals planning meeting. That's normally at the site where nationals is held, but obviously some of these things have been impacted due to COVID. And what we do with our profits, we don't hoard it and just keep it in a little nest for ourselves. So what we do is we use that income that we make on a year-to-year basis to provide new opportunities and to provide new services for our membership. So having a net income each year provides us with the flexibility to take risks and try new programs, like offering trampoline and tumbling at nationals. We're now, I believe, the only adult gymnastics organization that offers trampoline and tumbling options at the national level. And so this provides us just the opportunity to really help our membership in ways beyond just providing meets and develop new programs to help you guys. So next slide, please. So I alluded a little bit earlier to some of the changes we made due to COVID. And of course, like many other nonprofit organizations, our organization was hit hard by COVID. The inability to host nationals for a second year in a row, coupled with fewer of our members and member clubs purchasing memberships this year, left a lot of our major income streams dried up. And so, well, we anticipated this, the board anticipated this, and we employed a few strategies to help minimize this impact. So one of them is, when we developed the budget this year, we considered multiple different scenarios depending on whether or not nationals would be hosted under what circumstances, to allow our board to make a well-informed decision based on the risks and the relative risks and consequences of any kind of decision, and make sure that we'd be financially secure. We also reduce corporate expenses where possible. So we held for example, a virtual board meeting this year, a virtual board strategic planning meeting, instead of going to the national site to do so. And that was able to cut a lot of dollars so that we could allocate money towards other things. We also know that many of you have been hit hard financially due to the pandemic, and that's why the board made the decision to not require a purpose membership, either individual or club, to participate in our virtual events this year and Week of Nationals, and more importantly, to vote in the upcoming board election, because it's really important for our board and for our organization that our members have a say and that they're not limited in that capacity because of money. And finally, we also took a long, hard look at how we fundraise as an organization and developed a strategic plan for how we could bolster our fundraising abilities in the future so that we can continue funding new services, programs, and opportunities for our members. So these are all steps that we took to make sure that we can continue being here, and we will continue being here to provide fun gymnastics opportunities for adults. So now if we can go into the next slide, Allie, and we'll dig a little bit more into the nitty gritty, but we'll keep it short and sweet. Normally our income and expenses, they fall into one of two categories. The corporate income and expenses, those are more so that cost of doing business, things like the donations we receive and membership costs. That all flows in to mostly support our corporate expenses, so the things that we need to do to exist as an organization. And that program income and program expenses, those are things that are generated directly from the services we provide and offer. So those are things like scholarship and not scholarship, sorry, Flip Fest and nationals, and the various expenses associated with hosting those kinds of events. So normally, in a normal year, we can see this kind of distribution on the right, and you can see most of our income and expenses this past year were allocated to corporate sources. So normally this is not what we normally see. It's normally switched, where most of our income and expenses comes from program sources. But this year, we really tried to cut down and lean down our expenses so that we could remain financially secure this year and not lose a lot of money as an organization. Next slide, please, Ellie. On the income side, like I discussed earlier, we really had a big reduction in our income because we weren't hosting nationals, we weren't requiring membership fees to participate in our virtual events this year. And this is a very intentional and thoughtful decision in order to maintain accessibility to the services that we provide. We don't want members to be limited by, from participating in Week of Nationals or March Madnastics where possible. So we did not require membership fees this year, but that does impact our income. You go to the next slide, Allie. On the expense side, we also significantly leaned up this year because we were anticipating lower income and we didn't want to dig too much into our safety fund so that we can continue maintaining the fidelity of that. And so we had a number of cost saving measures this year. Like one item here is the corporate expenses. So we held a virtual board meeting and that saved a lot of dollars, and something that we might consider doing again in the future to continue saving dollars. Most of our expenses this year comes from just offering scholarships, our first year athlete awards, which are 4 awards that go out throughout the year. So the bottom line here is that this year we are projecting a net loss of about $5,835. And so this is still, TBD. This is a projected loss because we haven't finished out our year yet, but overall, this is about half of the loss that we were projecting at the beginning of the year. So we really made a strong effort to not go too far into the red. And speaking of going to the red, Allie, if you go to the next slide, we can see the kind of historical net operating income. So you can see there's quite a few years on here where we've generated a profit from year to year. especially Daytona Beach in 2019. We made a lot of money that year. And what that does is, again, it allows us to try new things, to try new services, and also just to be secure in events like, COVID happens and we're not able to make a lot of money. It's okay for us to have to still pay for things like, awards for virtual competitions, because we have a nice safety net set aside. So our expected year-end balance this year is about $115,000. And I know that seems like a lot of money for some people. And it is a lot of money, but we do need to keep a sizable amount set aside so that we can, one, remain liquid each year when we need to, when we have big expenses that need to be paid for, like convention center contracts, which are very pricey. But we also have about 13,000 of this, which is set aside specifically for our scholarship fund. So that's money that we will only ever use on the scholarship and supporting athletes in that way. All right, well, that's all I have. So I will hand off the reins, I believe, to Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. So, hey, everyone, I'm Alex Gals. I'm the events department head in the organization. I manage the teams that help put together all the events that you all get to participate in. So we'll get moving here, and I'll highlight some of our key achievements throughout this year. Do you want to go to the next slide, Allie? So just to kick it off, do you mind just clicking through these guys? So in lieu of nationals being canceled, we hosted a virtual week of nationals, and we also debuted our first live stream competition. Hopefully it's not our last one as well. A mag code of points specific to the NAIGC was put together and published. It's really beautiful too. I really recommend taking a look if you haven't already. WAG discipline offerings expanded to include level 6 now. TNT expanded their offerings, resources, and established a social media presence with our TNT Tuesdays. We created a judge finding tool and published it on our website for meet hosts to use as they host competitions and need to look for judges. And our new healthcare team continues to expand their presence and offerings, especially on social media, posting live Q&As about every other week and reaching about 600 accounts on average on their Instagram posts, as well as introducing a new discussion forum on our website. The healthcare team continues to explore opportunities to offer services. Next slide, please. So just a continuation of our ops achievements. As we've developed, we've increased our social media presence and awareness of NAIGC resources, again, plugging TNT Tuesdays. We were fortunate enough to partner with Chelsea Memel for a few Chelsea challenges throughout this year, so that was exciting. Then the introduction of member clubs in Wyoming and Idaho on the map that Julie presented earlier. That brings us to representation of 40 states with member clubs now. So we're getting to 50. And then during the week of nationals, we hosted our first alumni event with our alumni happy hour. And then the NAIGC store on our website underwent significant improvements, and it's live and active now. So give it a look if you haven't. Then just to highlight some key achievements on the governance side, we created a BIPOC equity task force to support initiatives that increase racial equity and opportunities for underrepresented athletes within the NAIGC. If you're at all interested, please let us know if you're at all interested in helping out. Additionally, we underwent significant internal organizational growth with our restructure and our establishment of governance and operations within our organization. Then we established a nomination committee, which will be endorsing candidates that apply for board. We created a new board peer evaluation system, and we implemented that as well. Since the restructure, NAIGC's first executive director was hired, and for our board elections, we implemented ranked choice voting. You can go to the next slide now. Then just a few items that we have in progress still. So we're in the process of approving a new scholarship for Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, and Latino, and other athletes of color who are underrepresented in higher education and in the sport of gymnastics. Stay tuned for updates on that and how to apply. We have a new registration system that our tech team is actively working on. We have a plethora of new merchandise that will be migrating to our online store as well. Our team's put together a community club starter kit for community clubs, which will be widely available shortly. And we developed a gym partnership program to work towards spreading awareness of NAIGC to folks that are in high school to start garnering some interest prior to their start to college and involvement in NAIGC. We can go to the next slide. So then we just wanted to touch on some of the offerings we provide, just so everyone can keep that in mind moving forward and looking ahead to Milwaukee. and then highlight some of the new additions as well. So on the WAG side, we added level 6 to our event offerings this year. So now in total, we offer developmental, level 6, level 7, level 8, and level 9. MAG did not introduce any new disciplines this year, but as stated earlier, a beautiful new code of points was created. MAG level offerings include developmental, level 9, and NCAA modified. Our unified artistic gymnastics, that's our program that welcomes athletes to compete exactly the events they want to, regardless of traditional gender association. And it houses our decathlon, which is the super all-around event where athletes compete all around from both MAG and WAG disciplines for a total of 10 events. Then TNT underwent some expansion this year too to incorporate a new level offering. So now we have new flyers, intermediate flyers, and high flyers. Intermediate flyers is a new addition. These apply to our full suite of TNT events, which includes power tumbling, individual trampoline, double mini tramp, and synchronized trampoline. So, all right, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Olivia now.
Hey guys, I'm Olivia. I am on the board and I'm also the Nationals coordinator. So I'm going to talk about the next 3 years of Nationals since we have already planned that far out. Allie, you can go to the next one. So first, as Julie said earlier, we were able to just postpone 2021. So we're still going to be able to go to Albuquerque. I'm really excited that they want us to come back and they were willing to work with us and make sure that we would still be able to host our Nationals there, get to check New Mexico off of my state list. So all the details are the same. It's April 10th to the 13th and same hotels. One of them is connected to the convention center. But again, 2024, we'll focus on the next year or two and hope we get to have those Nationals first. So next slide is 2022, which was announced last year at our annual meeting. We will be in Milwaukee and it's the first week of April. We do always try to plan around Easter and other holidays and your finals. So the weekends do switch up, but April 6th to the 9th next year. I really hope we will be in person by that time. We won't have to cancel another Nationals. And there's just one host hotel, so we all get to be together. We will put signups most likely in the fall, depending on how things are looking. And that one is also connected to the convention center, so it should be an easy commute for everyone. And lastly, what we come to this meeting for every year is to find out the 2023 location. So Allie, we will be in Memphis, Tennessee. Get excited. They seem like they're very willing to work with us. They're very excited to host us. We spent a lot of time deciding where we were going to be for 2023 this year. And with the board and NTS, we decided on Memphis. So again, those are the host hotels and dates. And I'm excited to see everyone at Nationals in person in hopefully the next few years.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mason Marek. I am the secretary for the NAIGC and a board member, and I'll be going over some of the organizational structure updates and some goals that we have moving forward. All right. So a brief overview, if this is your first time seeing it or your 15th time seeing it, we now have a split structure, meaning half of the organization is focused on governance tasks. Those are going to be ensuring that we're staying true to our mission, core values, and setting ourselves up for long-term success. These will be things like working on policies, treasury and finance, strategic vision and planning, and then appointing and overseeing an executive director, which leads me to operations. Operations is our day-to-day tasks, work making sure that we can have these awesome events that Olivia and Alex and their teams are putting together. Our tech, our merchandise, communication, sponsorships, scholarships, basically all of the groundwork so that the NAIGC can be what the NAIGC is. Go ahead, Allie. So here's a brief overview of kind of how this organization looks. There is the board, which is made up of the elected individuals that run for the board. That is comprised of the president, secretary, treasurer, and 9 board members beyond those 3. So there was a total of 12 board members. This graph only shows 9, just be aware of that. Under that, we have 3 committees. Basically, there's the finance committee, which is run by the treasurer, the policy committee, and the development committee. which board members must sit on 2 of these committees and help make policies, review development, work on treasury related tasks. And there's a 13th board member, which is the appointed executive director, which the board appoints. And they oversee all of the operations departments, being the events department, marketing department, membership department, and the technology department, and all the teams that fall below them. This is all available on our website, which can be linked at the bottom, naigc.org/organizational-chart. Go ahead, Allie. So looking at it, what are things that we've done? What are some things that we've accomplished, really? In governance, our goal was so that the board can now focus on long-term strategic planning and oversight. We've done this big strategic planning process this year, which is on track for completion by the end of June, which is the end of our fiscal year, and will be ready to be implemented next year. Another goal that we had was to make board member elections more robust and relevant to membership, to aid you all when voting for who you want to represent you on the NAIGC. So how did we do this? We created and implemented a nomination committee that will endorse candidates' skill sets for relevant experience on the board, and also created the implementation of ranked choice voting. And then on operations, we have the goal to sustain long-term growth by adding capability for more volunteers, which we were able to do so due to this restructure, going from 11 committees and 59 volunteers last year to 20 teams or committees and over 70, around 75 volunteers this current year. Additionally, we wanted to make it easier to recruit people into specific projects and tasks. And we have an open volunteer position page that's open on our website and is regularly updated there. Go ahead, Allie. So these are coming from Julie. She will be giving you our strategic planning and future goals looking beyond.
Cool. I'm going to break this up for just a second and hop in. So as I mentioned earlier, the organization is going through the strategic planning process again. So we are doing the strategic planning and setting ourselves up with some good future goals. We generally do this every 3 to 5 years, or if the organization sees a major restructure, which we did see this last year. So this is a lot on this slide. I'm not going to go into great detail. Right now, we're in the midst of the process, so we can't give you guys some sort of finalized form, but this is kind of a snapshot of where we are currently at. We do expect us to be done with this process by the end of the fiscal year, so something like June. So you guys can look at this. We're going to send out a PDF at the end of this meeting so you guys can look at this in better detail. But if you see, all of these columns are essentially our pillars of the organization, and all of these items under these pillars are some potential initiatives that the organization is going to prioritize. So again, if you guys want to see more about this, we'll send out a PDF. You guys can look at this in a little more detail. Go ahead, Allie, and I'm bumping it back to Mason. Mason or Alex, I don't remember who, but go for it.
It's Alex.
Okay.
Thanks, Allie. You can go to the next slide. So thanks for staying tuned so far, everyone. Here's just a few ways that you can support NAIGC if you're feeling charitable. You can become a member on our website or donate to the organization, also on the website. Additionally, if you're an Amazon user, you can choose NAIGC as your preferred nonprofit on Amazon Smile. And then last but not least, you can join our amazing team of volunteers. It's a good transition for the next slide. Of course, we're always looking for new volunteers throughout all of our departments, the events, membership, marketing, and technology department. This is a great way to both provide volunteer fulfillment within yourselves and help create the NAIGC experience that so many of us love, but be able to create this for new members in the organization. Additionally, I think that all our volunteers collect great experiences developing professional skills in the realms of events planning, fundraising, financial management of a nonprofit, leadership, community outreach, the list goes on. Applications for positions are open and can be found on our website. Responsibilities do vary, but all efforts are geared towards executing the organization's missions by hosting events, marketing our services, collaborating with membership, and developing technology to fulfill the organization's needs. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to info@naigc.org. Next slide. Pass it back to Mason.
Thank you for that, Alex. So Alex covered what operations does. I'll kind of explain what the NAIGC board and governance entails. So elected volunteers are responsible for the governance side, as you are all aware by now, probably. As a board member, you are responsible to serve on at least 2 governance committees and may serve 1 role in operations. So of the 3 governance committees that currently exist, we have policy, which is responsible for reviewing and developing governing documents per applicable laws and best practices. We have the development committee, which develops key performance indicators or KPIs, researching best practices for nonprofits and businesses, and implementing a recruitment strategy. Finally, there is the finance committee, which is responsible for developing and reporting our financial statements, overseeing fundraising and sponsorship strategies. We also have advisor roles. Advisors get to assist the board with specific tasks or committees. This is a great way to dip your toes in governance. So you don't have any governance experience or leadership experience, but you say, hey, I think I want to learn more about development or policy. You can apply to be an advisor at any time and work on any specific committee or team and kind of get to see that side of the organization. Currently, applications are not open for the board. They've just closed, as elections will be coming up, which I'll talk about briefly. Speaking of elections, here we go. So the board, as I said earlier, is made up of 12 individuals that are elected by membership. 3 of these individuals are on a 2-year term and will be on the board next year as well. So that means there are 9 candidates that will be re-elected to the board this year or elected to the board this year. Of these 9, 3 candidates will be in 2-year terms. So candidates had the option of running for a 1-year term or a 2-year term. Those that select a 2-year term, the top 3 candidates will be given their 2-year term, and the next 6 highest candidates will be will receive a 1-year term. So how is this going to work for you guys for membership? The nomination committee will be providing endorsements for candidates, and these will be on skill sets and how well their application shows that they would be able to work on development or work on finance, things like that. This is not going to be removing candidates. It's not saying this person would not be good. They're just saying this person has skill sets that match the gaps that the organization has said, hey, we might have. So these will be distributed via email on our election page of the website and on the ballot itself. So a brief overview of the timeline and what this is looking at right now. Applications for regional representatives closed tonight at 11:59 p.m. There are still a few regions that could use some applications. So if you're interested, please reach out to info@. I'm sure Alex would be happy to help with some regional rep kind of stuff as well, as some of that kind of stuff works with operations as well as governance. May 6th will be when elections open up following the board member virtual candidate speeches and Q&A. So after that Q&A, you'll be receiving your ballot via email. It will be open until May 13th, and it will close at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. And then sometime the following day on May 14th, elections will be announced. So that's a brief rundown of the election timeline that we're working with this year. So moving on, that brings us to the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand using the Zoom function or send any feedback or questions that you come up with at a later time to us via info@. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming, and I really appreciate it. All right, we do have a question. Which regions still need regional reps to apply? Does anybody know that off the top of their head? I can pull it up.
I was gonna say, if not, I can dig up that information too. If anybody knows off the top of their head, feel free to comment. If not, let me pull it up.
I've got it. So we still need people to apply for the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Mid-East, and Midwest regions.
Does anybody else have questions, comments, concerns? All right, I think we have more. So we have a couple. First one is, when will we know whether FlipFest will be hosted? So we actually have a COVID-19 task force, and they are monitoring the situation as we go. So they are going to continue to monitor it over, I imagine, the next couple months. They meet regularly, and they're going to kind of seek out answers as we go. It will I ultimately depend on how well we are doing in terms of vaccination distribution and, battling that curve and making sure that it goes properly down. I imagine we will have some answers within the next, what usually registration opens within the next month. So we probably won't know until midsummer. But we'll let you guys know as soon as we go, and we'll also give you updates along the way based on what the task force is feeling and thinking about it. So if you're not signed up for our monthly emails, you should definitely go on the website and do so you can get updates as we go. All right, so next question. Do you have any resources for teams looking to join gyms that don't have adult insurance? Does anybody want to take this one? Maybe
Yeah, I can take this one.
Perfect.
We do. We have our growth and outreach team, which helps our organization with getting new clubs kind of kicked off and assisting them with their very needs. I mean, this is a common question that they get is what happens if I want to work out in a gym that doesn't have adult insurance? And there are adult insurance options out there if you reach out to our growth and outreach team specifically, just by emailing info@naigc.org. They'll be able to point you in the direction of some adult gymnastics insurance providers, because sometimes they can be kind of tricky to find.
Awesome. I'll answer the next one. So the next question is there something we're supposed to do to let you guys know our club is here? On the form, there was nowhere to fill it out. Yeah, so we can actually see the participant list. It's saved for us afterward. So we can go ahead and connect you with a club. We can see online if you guys are registered as part of your club. If for some reason you are not and you are worried about it, you can go ahead and message us in the chat. But we can see everybody that is here and it's saved for us. All right, Olivia, you want to take the question? I think you have a question, don't you?
Yeah, there was a question in the chat about going back to the Northeast because we did have to fully cancel Providence. So first, the reason we canceled Providence completely is because by the time we would come back to it in 2024-25, the venue was going to be too small for what our projected growth is. So unfortunately, right now, we don't have a plan to go back to Providence, but I am working with NTS, who is the organization that helps me communicate with all the convention centers and plan our future events. And we definitely are keeping an eye out on cities in the Northeast. We would love to be able to go back there. We have so many clubs. We know it's easy for more people to travel. So definitely on our radar for 2025.
Awesome. Does anybody else have questions? If not, we can hang out here for a few more minutes. And if you don't have any more questions, feel free to go do other things.
I also want to plug real fast that if you guys do have any questions after this, you can always email info@naigc.org. And you can also come on. We have an office hour hosted every first Thursday and third Thursday of the month on Instagram Live. And you can always come to those, type in a question in the comment section, and whoever is hosting that office hour will help you out with those questions.
Thank you, Allie. We do have another question regarding when will we receive board candidate information from the nomination committee? So the nomination committee is currently reviewing and providing these endorsements. Due to the timeline that we had this year with the restructuring, it's a pretty condensed timeline. So this year they're working on it as fast as they can. They will have it all out when the ballot is out. So that information will be posted on the ballot itself with their recommendations and their endorsements. And the additional information will be populated on the website and sent out via email very shortly.
And just so you guys are aware, ideally in the next few years, this timeline will be a little bit sooner. So you'll have more time. But because this is new and we had a lot of policies to write, it set it back a bit. So you can expect it to have more time in the future years.
To give a specific date, it will be the May 6th. Yes.
It comes out with the ballot too. So when you guys open up the ballot, it'll come up with the candidate information. And I think the NomCom is writing a blurb, Mason can speak more on this, that will that'll let them know what they feel about this candidate's qualifications in terms of filling needs for the board. So you'll see it'll come with the ballot. So you don't have to necessarily hunt for it.
Yeah, there will be a NomCom a NomCom write-up from the entirety of the nomination committee. It won't be just individual things here and there. It's as a collective what the nomination committee decided. So
Another good thing to note is in order for you guys to access your ballots, we need to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information for clubs, contact information, whether that be the club email address that you guys use or your president or corresponding officer that we will send the ballot information to. So reach out to your regional representative. Make sure that you guys have the most up-to-date contact information so that you guys get your ballot as quick as you can.
All right, I'm going to punt it to Alex. I think you have a question.
Yeah, we got a question on the March Madnastics results. So those are actually live on the Virtual Stars website. You can go in and look. We'll be sending awards out in the next couple of weeks. We got a little slowed down with the live showcase, but we're actively working on that, and you can see results in the meantime. Apologize for the delay there.
Awesome. And we have a comment. It's an anonymous comment that says, "You've done a fantastic job with guiding the organization. Congrats. Please be proud of the work you have done. We are." So thank you guys. I know it's been a tough year for us not to get together for 2 years consecutively. We will be crossing our fingers for Flip Fest. We miss you guys, and we hope to be able to provide for you and see you in person as soon as possible. We can't wait. We sure miss you guys. It's not the same, huh? All right, we'll hang out for a few more minutes if anybody has questions. We enjoy hanging out with you guys, so you're welcome to let us know if you have anything big or small. We'd be happy to hang out and talk to you guys about it. If not, like I mentioned, for anybody who didn't hear before, definitely check out the live stream that was recorded on YouTube of the weekend of nationals and the Saturday event. It was absolutely spectacular. If you guys haven't seen it, you should absolutely do so. It was a ton of fun. And a big shout out to our executive director. She couldn't be here. She's in an exam, so she misses us. We miss her too. Shout out. Good luck with your exam, Tammy. And for everybody else, we also wish you good luck with your exams. Hope everybody's surviving that time of year. Cool. If you guys don't have any more questions, you are welcome to go. We will wait for you just in case you come up with anything exciting. Again, this will be recorded. We'll send out a PDF. You'll see lots of great things come your way, and you can ask us questions later if you have them. Also, one quick reminder for anybody who is still left, elections@naigc.org is another email address we set up. We'll mention it again in an email. So if you have election-specific questions like issues with the ballot, receiving information, etc., you can't log in, then you can send it there, and we'll get people to answer that immediately. So when that time comes around in the next week and a half, you guys have another email address. It's elections@naigc.org. Cool. We'll hang out here maybe 3 more minutes.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I guess this is a good time. I mentioned the office hour on Instagram Live every first and third Thursday of the month. It happens at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's when it starts. I didn't mention the time before. It goes usually about a half an hour, depending on the number of questions. So it's not a full hour, but it's an opportunity for anybody to come and ask questions about anything NAIGC related and to get as quick of answer as they can.
Anybody have any plugs you want to hit up? Go for it. Any shameless plugs you want to give for NAIGC things? I'll give one for Tammy. We really want more volunteers. So you guys saw our slides on operations volunteers. We could also always use advisors to the board. So if you guys are interested in contributing at any level, you can look at what we have available. If there's something that maybe doesn't fit, you guys can email info@naigc.org, kind of chat it out with somebody and see if there's somewhere where you may have something to contribute in a specific area. But we are all volunteer run, so the more of us that exist, the better. We welcome you. Tell your friends. Cool. I think we're about done here. Thank you guys for coming. We love seeing you. I know we're not really physically seeing you. We just see nice names on a list, but it's really great to spend time with you guys. Thanks for coming, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon.